You are Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Denver Nuggets are back on track, ladies and gentlemen, with a 125-116 victory over the Indiana Pacers to start their little road trip here. Welcome on into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Also, do me a favor if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're not watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the audio feed, nothing wrong with that. But if you want to come on over to the YouTube feed, make sure to hit that like button and smash that subscribe button on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of the show. A lot to talk about tonight as Denver earns a nice team victory across the board. Different role players stepping up in different ways. This was an all-hands-on-deck victory for the Denver Nuggets. And tonight's episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. More from our friends over at FanDuel in just a little bit. But that's how you bounce back here tonight for the Denver Nuggets after that crushing, demoralizing loss on Saturday night against the Los Angeles Lakers, a team that Denver will see in the not-so-distant future here once again. So you want to see Denver try to get their feet back under them. And if you listen to Saturday's show, I went on and on and on about how they've really just beat up on some bad teams, in particular in that 9-game win streak. We need to see them do it against some of these upper echelon opponents. And Indiana, while you may be, look, I made the mistake of sleeping on Indiana a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I don't pay a ton of attention to Indiana Pacers basketball outside of when they're playing the Denver Nuggets, where I always like to, see what the Knicks are doing as well. But Indiana, I caught this on the TV broadcast, second best record in the NBA in 2025, and they've been on a bit of a roll here. They're now 32 and 24 on the season are the Indiana Pacers, and they've been playing some pretty good basketball. So this is indeed a quality win for the Denver Nuggets against the Pacers team that's really stepped it up on defense and has also upped their production on offense since we've turned the calendar to 2025. But some interesting tasks lie ahead, most importantly, the next game, that being on Thursday night against the Milwaukee Bucks. So we'll finish off the show with some thoughts on the rest of the road trip here and take a look at what's coming up for the Denver Nuggets. But for tonight, it is a 125-116 victory. And you know what? We could talk all we want about Nikola Jokic. We could talk all we want about him. 19 assists tonight for the big fella. Plus 17 the Bucks, plus minus 18 points, 9 rebounds, another Sombor double. Just like another walk in the park for Big Honey. We could talk about Jamal Murray. But you know who we got to talk about? Some of the role players. And I know that Christian Braun is a starter, but Christian Braun is not in the same... I don't put Christian Braun in the same category as I do Jokic Murray, right? And even MPJ for that matter. And I kind of go Jokic Murray, separate Murray Gordon or MPJ Gordon, and then kind of filter out from there. Christian Braun with the fourth quarter for the ages here tonight, folks. He was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Second in the team in minutes played tonight, and boy, oh boy, did he earn each and every one of those minutes. And it was a bit of a funky game on Saturday for everybody, right? Jokic with 11 points, Murray, MPJ kind of non-existent. Kind of a funky game. And that Christian Braun included. But tonight, man, he responded in a big way. And look, we're still trying to figure out exactly what direction Michael Malone is going to go with this starting lineup the rest of the way this season, in particular as we head into the playoffs, right? We saw for a couple of games there, Russell Westbrook kind of take Christian Braun's spot in the starting lineup, and now coming out of the All-Star break, it's only been 3 games now rather, we've seen Christian Braun kind of return to that starting role with the Denver Nuggets at the guard position. And I mean, if he plays like he did tonight, I don't think you can take Christian Braun out of the starting lineup. And he's a scrappy guy, man. If you guys are a regular listener to the Locked On Nuggets podcast with my guy, Ryan Blackburn, you could also head over to the Mile High Sports YouTube channel. The interview's about, almost 2 years old now. But we had the opportunity, Ryan did, I was just, pushing some buttons and producing the thing, to interview Christian Braun one-on-one. And, when you get the players in that one-on-one type of environment, and especially when it's not attached to a game or a practice. I'm sure they practiced that day, but a game more so in particular, like immediately after the game, right before the game, whatever it might be, when you kind of catch them after a shoot around or a practice or whatever it might be, you get a much different demeanor when you interact with these players in that type of scenario. And I remember, even though I wasn't the one that did the interview, like just coming away, this was Christian Braun's rookie season, of how impressive how he carries himself, how he goes about his business, how serious he takes his job playing in the NBA. And of course, he was a rookie back then, so you probably put on, your best, your Sunday finest or whatever it might be. But from that moment on, you never had to question about Christian Braun from the neck up. Right. And you really don't have to question many players on the Nuggets neck up, like Zeke Nnaji. I know it's been a tough time for him, although he's playing much better as of late. We'll talk Zeke. He's one of those role players for sure. Denver does not win the game tonight without Zeke Nnaji. That's a fact. And Christian Braun and Jalen Pickett, even though Pickett only played a few minutes, impact in those few minutes. But that's kind of the trademark of this Michael Malone era of Denver Nuggets basketball, after the first couple of years of Jokic ball as well, is they really go after high IQ players, guys that from the neck up, they've got it, smart players. And, I think Jalen Pickett might be the greatest example of that, a little bit undersized as a guard, but a guy that's scrappy, plays hard, always makes the right play, or has been making the right play more and more. I think Jalen Pickett still needs to become accustomed to the speed and the nuance that is playing at the NBA level. But to kind of bring that back to Christian Braun, man, what a game he had tonight. That fourth quarter was awesome. Double-digit points for CB there in the fourth quarter. 17 points tonight is what he finishes with, as well as 8 rebounds, and 7 of those coming on the defensive side of the glass. And he also had an assist and a steal. Christian Braun is a guy that we hope it's with the Nuggets for his entire career. We'll see how that all plays out. But this is a guy that's going to have a long tenured career at the NBA level because of the way that he plays and the type of role player that he is. And, you saw him there kind of going back and forth. Tyrese Halliburton, I think it was, with that little bit of a flop there down low, didn't get called. He was upset. Christian Braun kind of looked back, gave him a little wink, little smirk, right? And then you just saw Christian Braun playing ping pong at times tonight, man. I mean, he made the in the air layup at one point, scrappy defense with the steal there late as well. And this was definitely a Christian Braun game, for the Denver Nuggets, and frankly one that they needed, as every single player for the Nuggets ends up in double digits tonight. Aaron Gordon, your leading scorer at 25, but it's not very often when Aaron Gordon's your leading scorer, and that's because it was a relatively passive Nikola Jokic game once again, only 18 points for the big fella. Murray started hot, faded late. He finishes with 16. And we'll talk a little Michael Porter Jr. at the end of the show or the next segment maybe. He finishes with 19 points, but a little Olay was MPJ tonight on defense, which is nothing new. I think Nuggets fans have all kind of come to expect that. But, man, tip of the cap to Christian Braun. Made the most of his 37 minutes played tonight, and I think is showing why he should be a starter moving forward for this Denver Nuggets team. And, frankly, someone that they can rely on when we get closer and closer to the playoffs, and in particular in some of these big matchups that are coming up here in the next couple of days, next few days for the Denver Nuggets. So let's talk a little Zeke Nnaji as well. I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of the Zeke Nnaji conversation on these shows has been relatively negative, or about trade conversation and about how his contract has been terrible. But tonight, man, what a game for Zeke. Gets 24 minutes of run, and he's been, slowly but surely kind of injected into that the rotation rather, on a consistent basis. And Zeke tonight finishes with 14 points. You love to see that. Let's pull up his game log here real quick, and just making an impact on defense as well. He's not going to light up the scoreboard consistently, right? He played 14 minutes against the Lakers on Saturday and put up a goose egg, but put up 4 points coming out of the break against Charlotte, and then did a pretty good job against Portland as well. 16 points in the second game, 11 points in the first, and then follows that all up after the Laker loss with 14 tonight against Indiana. And, I thought he was solid, man. 6 of 8 from the field, 1 of 1 from three-point land, grabbed a few rebounds, had a couple of blocks. And so, I imagine if Denver figures out a way to get something out of Zeke Nnaji, because I'm not trying to be harsh, but it's also just the fact of the matter. It's been a guy who's just kind of been collecting dust on the bench, has not really had much of a role with this Denver Nuggets team this season. And it seems like he's developing that role and fitting into that role as the season progresses. So definitely something to keep an eye on here with Zeke Nnaji, because if they can get anything positive out of him, that is going to go a long way for this Denver Nuggets team moving forward throughout the course of this season. So tip of the cap to Zeke Nnaji. Nice game from him. Nice game from Christian Braun. And how about Jalen Pickett, man? Only 4 minutes of playing time tonight. So this might be something that's easy to kind of overlook, but in those 4 minutes, put up 4 points, including a sick running away behind the basket layup type shot, whatever you want to call it. And speaking, another selfish plug, Mile High Sports YouTube channel, my guy Ryan Blackburn, go check that out. Beginning of last season, had a one-on-one with Jalen Pickett. So if you want an opportunity to learn a little bit more about Christian Braun or Jalen Pickett, you can go ahead and check out those interviews on the Mile High Sports YouTube channel conducted by my man, Ryan Blackburn. You guys can follow him on social media at NBA Blackbird. But I just felt like we needed to start there. Christian Braun, Zeke, Nnaji, Jalen Pickett. 3 guys that made a difference, a big difference in this game as Denver ultimately gets the win here tonight, 125-116. It's not like you had Jokic or Murray going for 30. Michael Porter Jr. with 19, but, we want a little bit more out of Michael Porter Jr., specifically from three-point land. Aaron Gordon turning into a three-point threat. We'll talk about that here coming up on the other side of our commercial break. But Christian Braun, Zeke, Nnaji, Jalen Pickett. Kudos to them tonight as they ultimately help push Denver to this team victory, 125-116, as we can wipe the slate clean with that Laker loss and get on with ourselves here. So, all right, let's hit our first break. When we come back, we'll continue along with the conversation. Let's talk a little Aaron Gordon, lighten it up from three-point land this season, making a big impact from beyond the arc. Maybe not so shocking if you're in the know, if you consume Nuggets media, all that good stuff. We know that Aaron Gordon put a lot of work into his three-point shot this offseason. So maybe not a surprise, but we'll talk a little AG, talk a little Michael Porter Jr. as well when we come back right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Back in just a moment, folks. All right, you guys, real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at DoorDash, and DoorDash is a friend of mine. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save, thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off of an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight, guys. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can enjoy DoorDash. If you want a game day feast after an epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. Or if you've got those late night cravings when you're watching highlights late at night or just need a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save when any player scores 50 or more in a game. Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms they do apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Be sure to check out our friends over at DoorDash. I know they've helped me out on more than one occasion, and I know they can help you too. So again, they swoosh, you score with code NBA50. And join Dash Pass and score 50% off after a 50-point game. Be sure to check them out and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Do me a favor, if you're watching live on YouTube or even after the fact, do me a favor, hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. Those are my 2 asks of you. That way you never miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast. You guys can also follow me on social media at Media by AP, but it is a 125-116 victory for the Denver Nuggets as they get the job done tonight against an Indiana Pacers team that has been sneaky good here. 32-24 on the year, the second best record in the NBA in 2025. This snaps a 3-game win streak for the Indiana Pacers. They beat the Wizards, nothing to really write home about. They beat the Grizzlies, okay, impressive. And then they beat the Clippers, who are not exactly, the Wizards, for lack of a better phrase there. So a few quality wins in a row there for the Indiana Pacers, and it comes to a halt tonight as Denver gets back on track with that 125-116 final score. I heard this on the radio broadcast as I was on my way home from the gym earlier today. Denver in games, I don't want to chop it up the wrong way here, but point being, they got, what did they put up? Less than 100, I think I want to say. Nuggets, Lakers. I want to give this to you because it's a good, they put up 100 points. So I believe when they're held to 100 points or fewer in a game, they've responded with scoring 120 plus in the next game. And I also caught this from Vic Lombardi on Altitude TV coming out of the halftime break, that Denver has only lost one game this season in which they have the lead at halftime. So Denver has a lead at halftime. you're feeling pretty good about your chances here moving forward. So just a good little nugget there, no pun intended, for the information out there for Nuggets Nation and all that good stuff. But it's a nice win tonight. An all hands on deck win, 125-116. A couple things that you want to see Denver try to clean up, and then we'll get to Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. here in a minute. The turnovers, man, 20 of them tonight. That resulted in 24 points for the Indiana Pacers. You need to see them clean that up a little bit. And, that's my one big kind of critique from them as a team is you need to just see them. I mean, they had close to double digits, I want to say, in the first half. I think they exceeded double digits in the first half, rather, and just kind of throwaway turnovers, right? And I caught Chris Dempsey talking about this on Altitude as I was getting set up for the game, and I forget the exact terminology that he used, but it's one thing to turn the ball over while the ball's like in motion, right? And that leads to transition buckets for the other team. It's another thing to, throw the ball out of bounds or tipped out of bounds or whatever it might be, because when you're turning the ball over with the ball live and in play, I mean, you're just giving the team not an automatic 2 or 3 points, but it requires a lot of effort to get back quickly and play that, stalwart type of defense. So you want to see Denver, especially against high-level competition, which they have coming up in their next 3 games. You need to see them clean up the turnovers. But really, you can't complain too much about the performance as they get the job done tonight, 125-116. Denver led by as many as 17 points in this game here tonight as well. So, they're back. They destroyed Indiana on points in the paint. Indiana had 46, 74 of Denver's 125 points tonight coming in the paint. They shot 56, or no, that's their field goal percentage. They did shoot 56.4% from the field. They shot 38.1% from 3. But, it's better than Indiana, who shot 32.6%. Indiana was 14 for 43. But kind of going back to points in the paint here for just a moment. Aaron Gordon clearly was feeling some type of way when he knew that Pascal Siakam was going to be on him tonight, because he led the team in scoring with those 25 points, 11 of 17 from the field, 2 of 4 from three-point land. And Aaron Gordon, sneaky good from three-point land this season. And, if they're going to be able to, rely on Aaron Gordon from three-point land, like, let's see here. Regular season totals. He is shooting 42.7% from three-point land this year, which is it is 10% better than his career average. He's a career 32.7% three-point shooter, shot 29% last year, 34.7% the year prior in the championship season, but this year shooting 42.7% from 3. And look, you're not going to rely on a guy like Aaron Gordon to take a high volume amount of threes. Like, he's not going to put up 8 or 9 a game like we've seen MPJ or, Jamal Murray do in some instances. I mean, Jamal tonight was nice from 3, 4, 4. You love that. But if they can rely on Aaron Gordon's three-point shot, because we know that Denver's problem with the three-point shot is not the volume. Or excuse me, it is the volume. It is not the quality of shots or the rate in which they go in. Denver knocks down, when they take them, a good amount of their three-point shots. The issue is they don't keep up with some of these other run-and-gun type of NBA teams, that just love to get the three-point shot up, a la Boston, right? Some of these younger teams, Oklahoma City, whatever it might be, that just shoot the 3 and live and die by the 3. And so, if Denver can continue to, up the ante on their volume while also maintaining that percentage that they're shooting this year, I mean, that's only going to bode well for them. So nice game tonight from Aaron Gordon, but I thought he was also awesome in the paint, taking on Pascal Siakam one-on-one, just taking him to lunch throughout the course of this one, and that's how he ends up with the 25 points. Also, 5 rebounds, a couple of assists, and a steal for Aaron Gordon. So a nice game, and he mentioned, I think it was Katie Wingy on the court after the game as well. That's the nice part about when they're on the road or I'm doing the shows from home, is I can kind of catch the first 5-10 minutes of the show as I'm getting ready to do this one, and you pick up some good post-game nuggets there. And Aaron Gordon, was asked about what's been different, for him here as of late. And he feels like his body is coming back to him, feels like he's in a good spot physically and mentally as well. And that can only mean good things for the Denver Nuggets. So you absolutely love to see that. But good game tonight, 125-116, your final score, as Aaron Gordon leads the way with those 25 points. And real quick on Michael Porter Jr. before we hit our final break and kind of take a look at what's coming up here for the Denver Nuggets. He finished with 19 points tonight, 9 of 16 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. Had a couple of bad misses from 3, though. And, he made up for what he wasn't doing offensively in the scoring department with his boards. He had 11 of those tonight. So you'll love that for Michael Porter Jr., a double-double for him, 19 and 11. But, Curious Mike, couple instances out there where he looked a little lost, a little not locked in, for lack of a better phrase there. And so, like, look, Denver's going to be able to contend for a championship as long as Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray are doing their thing, right? Like that's kind of like the common denominator. Like if Jamal Murray is not playing like he has been for a majority of this year, 2025, that being, I mean, Denver's going to have no shot. But where Denver can go from like fringe championship contender to buckle up, get your popcorn ready, they might have a real chance to win this thing, is when you've got Michael Porter Jr. knocking down 3-point shots and continuing to maintain his production on the boards. Add that in with Aaron Gordon knocking down a few 3-point shots and doing his thing, in and around the glass, and Christian Bruan playing like he did tonight. Again, I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself. Some interesting games coming up for Denver where I feel like we're going to learn a lot about them. And like I said, you can't really complain too much in a win, but Michael Porter Jr., when he's dialed in, good things are going to happen for this Denver Nuggets team. So he did put up 19 tonight, 11 boards, double-double. So I'm not trying to nitpick too much, but there was just a couple of sequences on defense where he wasn't closing out, just looked a little lost out there, which is nothing new, but, just an observation that I have been watching this game as well. So all in all, it is a successful night for Denver as they take down the Indiana Pacers. But all right, let me hit my final break real quick, guys. If you, the listeners out there, I always like to say, I'm the host of the show. You, the fans, the listeners, the subscribers are the ones that help me drive the conversation. So if you've got some thoughts, opinions, questions, feel free to go ahead and throw those out in the comment section. We'll go back and forth here as we get ready to wrap it up right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Back in just a moment, folks. All right, you guys, real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Be sure to check out our friends over at FanDuel and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Hope everybody is doing well out there as the Denver Nuggets are victorious tonight, wiping the slate clean of that terrible loss to the Lakers, 125-116, your final score here this evening, as Denver takes down the Indiana Pacers for their 38th win of the season. 38-20 are the Nuggets, 18-11 on the road now as well, and the first of a 4-game road trip here for Denver. And, you always want to try to get the first one, right? You feel a lot better about your chances. You're not kind of reeling as much after you get that first win on the road of a road trip. And Denver's going to need some momentum here, folks, because, you like their chances in the game tonight, but they go on the road now, or stay on the road rather, and they're off a couple of days. So that should bode well for them, off Tuesday, off Wednesday, before they come back on Thursday night, 6 p.m. tip-off on national TV, when the Denver Nuggets take on the Milwaukee Bucks, and then they'll follow that up with a quick turnaround on a second night of a back-to-back on Friday, final day of February, to play the Detroit Pistons, who are much better this year than they have been in years past. I believe Detroit's, or they're not playing right now, but they're 32-26, just for the record there as well. So before it all kind of builds up to what should be, I don't want to say an NBA Finals preview, it certainly could be though, but Denver's got a long way to go between the on Sunday's matchup between the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics. 11 a.m. Mountain Time tip-off for that one on ABC and ESPN. So the early game there as we get started on Sunday as well. So those are the next 3 games coming up for Denver, but it doesn't really get much easier for them after that. They come home to take on Sacramento and Phoenix. Sacramento and Phoenix, solid teams, not like, the Washingtons of the world, even though Denver lost to them already once this year. And then they've got back-to-back games against Oklahoma City, both on the road. So, a lot of nationally televised games here coming up. I mean, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, that's 7 nationally televised games in about the next 12 or so, with a couple of NBA TV games mixed in there as well. So we're going to learn a lot about this Denver Nuggets team over this next stretch of games, because as I mentioned on Saturday's show, as fun as that 9-game win streak was, not really any impressive wins along the way. I mean, you beat Philly, Charlotte twice, New Orleans twice, Orlando once, Portland twice, Phoenix. I mean, not exactly anything to write home about. You know, you don't feel as good. You feel good about the streak, but you don't feel good about any of those wins like you do tonight's win, especially coming off a loss, 125-116 against Indiana. So gut check time for the Denver Nuggets, and their schedule is tough, folks. You know, even after those Oklahoma City games, they got Minnesota, LA back-to-back. Then they got Washington, which they should win, but then you got Golden State, the Lakers again, the Rockets, the Bucks again at some point, Minnesota again, Golden State another time, Indiana one more time, Sacramento, Memphis, Houston to round out the regular season schedule. So that's not in order. I missed a couple of games, right? They play Chicago, they play Utah, they play San Antonio, but you know, that's just kind of a quick snapshot. I mean, go check this out. Go look at the Nuggets schedule because it is tough. I mean, really only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count 5 games left on the schedule where Denver should absolutely win pretty much regardless of anything. You know, everything else is going to be tough for this Nuggets team. So we'll see how they fare. But tonight, man, it was a good win, a fun game as they bounce back against the Indiana Pacers. 125-116. Aaron Gordon shooting the ball well. Christian Brown stepping up tonight. Zeke Nnaji making the most of his opportunities, as did Jalen Pickett. And I'll end with this too on Jalen Pickett. Julian Strawther missed a couple of wide open threes tonight. A couple of wide open threes. He was 0 of 3 from beyond the arc. And I like Julian Strawther. I think he's raw. I think he's athletic. I think he's got a lot of potential. But I think Jalen Pickett has earned the right to kind of eat into some of those minutes that Julian Strawther's been getting this season. I mean, I've liked what I've seen. I'm buying what Jalen Pickett's selling right now for sure, folks. And, you know, they need some scoring off of the bench, right? And Strawther profiles as a little bit more of a prolific scorer than a guy like Jalen Pickett. But I just like where Jalen Pickett's game is at right now, just speaking frankly here. So we'll see if Malone ends up making an adjustment there. Russell Westbrook played tonight, 23 minutes, 7 points, nothing crazy from Russ. 0 of 3 from 3. You kind of live with Russ and die by Russ. You kind of know what you're going to get from him at this point in his career, although he's been much better with the Denver Nuggets than he has been any of his previous 4 or 5 teams leading up to this season. So I'm happy with Russell Westbrook. I think it's been a good signing. I just think that Jalen Pickett has earned a little bit of a longer leash, or just leash in general, from head coach Michael Malone. I think he's done a good job in his limited opportunities this season. But all right, winding down here, folks. If you got any thoughts, comments, questions, feel free to go ahead and drop those in the comment section right now, as the Denver Nuggets are victorious over the Indiana Pacers. Couple of days off before they take on Milwaukee on Thursday night on TNT. That should be a fun one for sure. But hopefully the sign of things to come. I mean, if Denver can go 3-4 on this road trip, you know, with a nice win against Milwaukee, Detroit, whatever it might be, Boston's going to be tough. But if they can, you know, rip off a couple of wins in a row here, heading into Boston, and potentially steal that game, or, you know, put up a fight in that one, you're going to feel pretty good about the overall trajectory of this team as we not even head into the final portion of the regular season. I mean, we're in it, folks. You know, I know the All-Star game wasn't so long ago, but that's not really like an official halfway point of the season. Only about 25-ish or so games left for the Denver Nuggets. So we'll see if they can make the most of those. But all right, that is going to do it for me on tonight's Locked On Nuggets postcast. Again, on your way out, do me that favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you feel so kindly. And that way you never miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast. You can also follow me on social media at Media by AP. But Denver getting the job done here tonight, 125-116, your final score. Back on the winning path with a nice dub over the Indiana Pacers. All right, folks, enjoy tonight and the next couple of days. We'll be back at it again on Thursday night for the Denver Nuggets and Milwaukee Bucks Locked On Nuggets postcast. Have a good evening, folks, and we'll talk to you guys then.